David Armstrong, a reporter from the national media outlet ProPublica, published a story today explaining the cost Washington is paying for those who cross the Idaho border daily. Mayor Kawash talked to Armstrong today and explains how this affects Washington's path forward.
Governor Inslee told me months ago he's worried about Idaho's lack of restrictions. Here in Spokane, it took 6 months for about 8,300 people to catch COVID-19 in this county. But here, in the last 6 weeks alone, that number has more than doubled, with 8,800 people testing positive. That, of course, is not just Idaho's fault, but the back and forth across the border is certainly not helping. Thousands of people in eastern Washington pay a visit to North Idaho every day. But now Washington's neighbor is making matters worse during this COVID-19 pandemic.
The virus doesn't really care about borders. It doesn't care whether we're in Washington or Idaho. It is looking for opportunities, to reproduce itself.
The virus is reproducing itself across state lines as Washington and Idaho handle this pandemic in different ways. The Evergreen state has dealt with months of restrictions and a statewide mask mandate, while its neighbor across the border does the opposite.
You might have one city and a neighboring city with different requirements for masks. You have county to county differences. You have regional health districts that are different. So it's really kind of a jumble of approaches to the virus.
David Armstrong's investigation for ProPublica outlines this problem across the U.S. Several bordering states are seeing the same issue, like Illinois and Iowa or Minnesota and the Dakotas.
So what's really interesting is the lack of national standards for the most part about how to approach this pandemic. And so you have a lot of conflict, a lot of confusion.
That conflict also hurts schools. Most of Washington is in remote learning, and the Newport School District says its enrollment dipped by about 25% this year because of that. Many families opting to make the drive for their kids to learn in person right across the border.
We're sister cities, and so all it takes is, 10,000 people coming back and forth each day, and 5% of those people pick up COVID or bring it back and forth.
Springer says there haven't been any major outbreaks traced back to North Idaho so far, but those who are bringing the virus back and forth are also not being completely honest.
We see a lot of hesitancy with people wanting to disclose contacts that are outside of their home.
That epidemiologist from Spokane Regional Health tells me it could be another 3 weeks until we find out how Washington's latest round of restrictions are impacting the data. Springer says that's because of the expected surge coming from Thanksgiving. Now, gatherings continue to be the #1 cause for this entire COVID spike. Aaron, Nia?